Welcome, fellas. Today's review is on a classic in anime, one of the anime series that showcased anime to the West. Tekkaman Blade or Tekkaman in the West. It's well made, given the limitations in animation techniques at the time. But what it lacks in style, it more than makes up for it with its storytelling. You have your protagonist, Blade. I'll use the Western names in this review. A young man who arrived on the scene when humanity was pushed to the brink of extinction by an alien invasion. I'll call the aliens Aradam, as their original Japanese dubs suggest. But Blade arrives, literally like a knight in shining armor, showing his amazing combat prowess, dispatching the aliens effortlessly. Were these aliens, who were later found out to be mere cannon fodder, were giving the Earth's military a mountain of trouble. Blade's power divides his would-be allies. On one end, he symbolized hope, while others had a wary stance towards him. And of course, his power attracts the attention of the military who tries to monopolize it. But while everyone has their own stance on Blade, Blade himself had his own deep trauma and moral dilemmas to deal with, making him initially aloof and cold to his would-be allies. The cast of his allies are all endearing characters to the story: the calm, calculating commander, Blade's future love interest; his future best friend, the endearing little sister character, the androgynous resident tech head; finally, the gruff but caring mechanic. Essentially, the original relationship was a give and take. Blade needed them to get to space. Like an orbital taxi service, while they would study Blade's abilities, the data they accumulated from studying Blade was used to construct a man-made exosuit that could fire small projectiles, based on Blade's most powerful weapon, the Bolt Tekka, a large area of effect weapon that could only be fired once per transformation. Eventually, as time goes by, Blade begins to see the Space Knights as an adopted family, slowly healing his own trauma. As the story progresses, more of Blade's past is revealed, as well as the cruel burden he is forced to shoulder. I won't spoil too much because if you love anime and you haven't seen this anime yet, I highly encourage you to give it a watch, preferably the original Japanese version, rather than the edited one for Western release. You could feel the thought and care put into the series, which sets it apart from the current anime releases that have overpowered protagonists with a one-dimensional level of trauma or motivation. The anime protagonists from the 80s, 90s, and some from the early 2000s were just much better written and fleshed out. Blade is one of them. While his power is overwhelming, this is only in relation to what the Earth's military has. Blade's power is severely limited and comes at steep prices when compared to the enemy Tekkaman, who outnumber him. But what also sets apart the enemy is how they aren't dumb. While having overwhelming force, through their disposable pawns, as well as their own contingent of Tekkaman, they strategically execute ploys in a logical way to remove obstacles to their invasion, which is mainly dealing with Blade's interference, but also making a beachhead in the most advantageous structure in the series, the Space Ring. A massive man-made ring that encircles the Earth, that acts as a spaceport and planetary defense system. Some of them work, whether it's hindering Blade's ability to transform, neutralizing his Bolt Tekka, exploiting his tech system's limitations. This is smart writing. This isn't like the current anime where, for the most part, the MC has some kind of MacGuffin or cheat ability, giving him some ludicrous edge over his opponents, even if they vastly outnumber him. Blade and his companions must overcome every hurdle using their wits, will, and skills. This highlights that every ally of Blade brought something to the table, whether it was technical know-how, jerry-rigging ingenuity, or just plain bravery at facing enemy Tekkamen that could wipe the floor with them, helping Blade triumph against their foes, strengthening their bonds even further. The series balances blows dealt to each side and how both sides deal with the results of those blows. It does not focus on the flat, unentertaining, and predictable good versus evil. Both sides have motivations and their own thoughts about their respective adversaries. The plot of the series is also multi-layered in how the aliens attempt to obtain victory over Earth. I won't spoil it, but it involves setting up the game board to claim enemy resources as your own. Sorry, but this is as vague as I could be, to not spoil it for you. If you haven't seen this series yet, but odds are, most of you have seen this series, so you know what I'm talking about. The true form of the Radom aliens was also far different than what was shown, in a nice bit of misdirection. Of course, the series ends in the Earth's victory, however it comes at a great cost, both to Blade and his allies. Some of them lost along the way, but it's the journey the story takes which makes it entertaining. I know you guys are confused about the title of this video. If I had nothing but good things to say about this anime, but the reason I said it was Mishandled was the lesser-known sequel, Tekkaman Blade 2, a 6-episode OVA. Just saying its name makes me cringe. For starters, it just drops you several years in the future, where humanity uses the Rodom's tech system against them. Blade takes more of a back seat, and for some reason, he is heavily underpowered. Not only that, aside from Honda and Aki, everyone else from the original series is nowhere to be seen. The first series took so much time to make you like these characters, and now they don't even mention them. They focus more on a new generation of Tekkamen, but we don't have enough time to develop any interest in them, and they come off as tolerable in small doses. The saving grace of this short 6-episode sequel. The antagonist is some Tekkaman whose name was Grandiose. For a small fry, somehow managing to overpower Blade, in a first encounter, by the way, we never see how. Just the end result that Blade was beaten, but somehow, needing one of the new Tekkaman to help him get stronger, I don't understand this level of vulnerability. Even in the first series, Blade would have never let himself stop developing his abilities. He always strived to improve, even with the price he paid to end the first Radom invasion. All this seems like just a way to shoehorn in the new characters, to give them some more relevance to the sequel. It's really hard to avoid spoilers in my review, just bear with me. The most annoying part of this was that there was some small 5-minute OVA that explained what happened between the time skip. This was just frustrating to watch. It's why some people don't recognize the sequel as a legitimate sequel. If you want to save yourself some time and headache, just watch the main series. Don't bother with the sequel. The tragedy of this series is that it could have been further expanded, creating several engaging sequels. Instead, the only thing we get is this mishandled mess of a second season. It felt more like the sequel was made by people that just saw the clip notes and made the story based on that. This is, in my view, one of the earliest instances of something great being made and handed over to production crews that have no respect for the source material or cannot handle further development of the source material. It's like passing an elaborate, eye-catching torch to someone, only for them to fumble and drop it. Setting the Seishin fire with their lack of care, it's just a waste of potential. If I could name one thing that could be beneficial to this series, it would be an update to the animation. They did a pretty good job with the limitations to animation during the time it was produced. But could you imagine how much better it would look? With improved animation techniques available now? I think that would be pretty lit. And I mean just the animation. Don't mess with the story. It's fine as it is. In the past, it would have been fine to add little touches here and there to improve the story. But nowadays, you don't know what these modern writers would do. Most likely, they'll add something that contradicts the flow of the story, or something that completely derails the pacing. So just the animation should be updated, and for the love of God, don't give it to Netflix. I said this before, but this is not a meme. It's a fact. This brings an end to my review. Please like and subscribe to my channel for more reviews. Until next time, bye.